Hey everyone. I'd like to kind of do a response to what JAYDUB had to say on his blog talk radio show PWTR and on his on his channel, the JAYDUBSHOw. But it's also something SPINNERNET1 was talking about. Now, I know a lot of people are wondering how WWE is going to do this Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, especially the Hell in a Cell matches without any blood. Well, as it was proven last year at SummerSlam, you don't really need blood to make Hell in a Cell physical or entertaining. You remember at the SummerSlam Hell in a Cell between Edge and Undertaker, they made the match entertaining, they made the match good by doing things that were typically known for Hell in a Cell, but without having any blood. For example, one part that got me is when Edge speared the Undertaker through the cage. And I'm not talking through the cage door, I'm talking to the other side of the cage near the announce table. I think they broke one or two of the announce tables that night after we watched it again. Another thing is that towards the end, Undertaker chokeslammed Edge through the ring, literally through the ring, basically sending him to hell, if you will. So, to be honest, I wouldn't worry too much about the blood factor. If anything, what WWE may do is they may put a warning before the pay-per-view saying parental guidance suggestion. Some matches may be inappropriate or may contain this and that. Viewer discretion is advised. They may do that. They may put TVPG V. Well, of course they do that already, but they may put TVPG SV or something, I don't know. They'll do something to say that, what you'll see, viewer discretion is advised for what could be seen. What I do see happening is they could capitalize on what we saw at the Hell in a Cell and SummerSlam to where they can actually physically, probably break the cage in some way, or the cell in some way, or do something without the use of blood, then, I don't think we'll have to worry about that. I don't think anybody has to worry about that at all. So, honestly, I think JAYDUB talked about this, and some of the people listening to his show talked about it. I don't think you have to worry, as long as because you got to remember, like I said, the SummerSlam match back in 2008 between Undertaker and Edge in Hell in a Cell. It didn't have blood, but it was physical and violent enough, I guess you could say, with the breaking of the cage and going through the announce tables and being chokeslammed through the mat. It was good enough to be one of the best Hell in a Cells. I think, honestly, what may happen to really kind of get the Hell in a Cell back and make it special, even though it's going to be 3 matches in one night, is somebody is going to go off the cage. That would be the only way. Somebody's going to go off the cage. Either we're going to see Randy going off the cage, we could see Shawn Michaels, we could see CM Punk, we could see Ted or Cody, even Triple H maybe, who knows? Maybe even The Undertaker. No one really knows. Maybe even John Cena. But something will happen. I've got a feeling all 3 matches are going to have something special happen in those cell matches that are going to help everybody remember how special Hell in a Cell was, even without the use of blood. I know that sounds a little ridiculous or a little redundant, but like I said, I got a feeling something special is going to happen in all 3 matches that are going to make people say, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen in the next Hell in a Cell match tonight. Because something big is going to happen in all 3. Some kind of big special Hell in a Cell moment is going to happen in all 3. I've got that feeling. Now, as far as the pay-per-view goes, why they would, in your case, JAYDUB, why would they, and I think SPINNERNET, you may have said this, why would they hold a pay-per-view that's named after a match that is supposed to be one of those special occasions? A match that usually is reserved to ending feuds and ending rivalries, or if somebody's leaving the company, ending their rivalry with somebody. The reason WWE is doing this, and they won't come out and publicly say it, but the reason WWE is doing this is because they see the success that TNA has with Lockdown. TNA once a year has the all six-sided steel pay-per-view lockdown, and it's usually capped off with the Lethal Lockdown match, the War Games match, if you will. So to say that, so to say WWE is going to ruin the match, the speciality of the match, I don't think they're going to ruin the speciality of the match. I mean, yes, I do agree on one thing. I do agree that the people that are involved in the match should have some kind of legitimate reason. Like, they should have a long-term feud, like Shawn Michaels and Triple H did, like Undertaker and Randy did. And, they should have some legitimate feud. I mean, last year when Undertaker took on Edge, that was a legitimate reason, because Edge, along with Vicky Guerrero, had been screwing the Undertaker for over a year or so, basically screwing him out of the title every chance they got. So basically that was almost a year in the making, if not more, for that Hell in a Cell match. But what I'm saying is that I think WWE, as I mentioned, sees the success that TNA is having with that monthly, I think it's April, I believe it comes on in April or March, I can't think of it, pay-per-view, Lethal Lockdown, and they think to themselves, well, maybe if we did not all the matches, but maybe like 2 or 3 main event matches in the Hell in a Cell, maybe we could have the same success as TNA. Well, that might be true. Now, TNA kind of, had another Lethal Lockdown match just recently, about 2 weeks ago, about a week ago or so, at No Surrender. They had last week they had at No Surrender they had the Lethal Lockdown again, second time in a row. Now, I will admit, sometimes having 2 Lethal Lockdowns in 1 year may ruin it, but you got to realize how spread apart they were. It's not like they had Lethal Lockdown the following month, or they had 3 Lethal Lockdowns in one month. They actually spread it to the point that, yeah, it was last minute. Yes, it was to kind of build up on the ride and the brawling and the fighting between, Beer Money, Team 3D, British Invasion, and Booker T and Scott Steiner. Yeah, it was to build on that and kind of contain that and kind of simmer that down. But honestly, like I said, it was kind of spread apart. Yeah, it was last minute, but it was spread apart. So it's not going to really ruin the speciality, because the speciality of the Lethal Lockdown is the fact that the pay-per-view, unlike all the other pay-per-views, with the exception of Bound for Glory and Slammiversary, and maybe even Genesis, I'm not sure, but most importantly Slammiversary and Bound for Glory, Lethal Lockdown is one of those pay-per-views they take on the road. So it's not going to really ruin it by having a Lethal Lockdown in the Impact Zone, as long as the Lethal Lockdown pay-per-view itself, along with all the 6-sided steel matches and the Lethal Lockdown match itself, are on the road in a bigger arena. Excuse me for a second. Yeah, I just had to check my time there. I got one of those 10 to 11 minute time limits. But anyway, it's not going to ruin it if it just, if they just have like one last, put together the last minute Lethal Lockdown match at another pay-per-view inside the Impact Zone, as long as it leaves the Lockdown pay-per-view to be one of those special occasion pay-per-views that go on the road, like Slammiversary and like Bound for Glory. That's the only reason. Now, there is one match I think they might be ruining a little bit, but they might be capitalizing on it. I mean, so far we have had 2 Monsters Ball matches. One we had between the Knockouts, Taylor and Daphne. Slammiversary we had a mixed tag Monsters Ball. And now next month, from what the advertisements say, we're going to have a Hardcore Extreme Monsters Ball between Mick Foley and Abyss. My guess is what TNA is doing is it may look like they're ruining the Monsters Ball, but actually what they're doing is they're kind of, I guess, renaming, kind of giving like a subtitle, like the first one this year was the first Knockouts Monster Ball, and Slammiversary was the Mixed Tag Monsters Ball, and they weren't as violent. In a way, it's like they're building up to possibly what is being dubbed the Hardcore Extreme Monsters Ball between Foley and Abyss, and that's when we're going to really see, the shit fly, if you know what I mean. But basically just, in the end, let me just say, excuse me for a second. But in closing, let me just say that if TNA is overdoing the Monsters Ball deal, but people still like it, I don't think people still like it, even though some may say they're ruining it. I don't think WWE is ruining the Hell in a Cell by doing it like this. So, expect something special in all 3 Hell in a Cell matches, and that's all I can say. And if you got any comments, just let me know.